Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk you through and go through this ZX10. It's Gen 5 one, 2016 model. He's come in for some very fancy switchgear, a custom remap, and his Autoblipper check-in, and a Pipewerx exhaust. But we've already spotted a problem, so it has literally come on here. We always just run them up, start them up, and have a look to make sure everything's working good. Oddly, this one wasn't. I'll show you. The nice fancy switchgear's not on here yet, so we'll do that. So that sort of seems normal. You see that? It was sort of hanging on to the revs there. You could just catch it. Just that little hang, and then it went down again. Yeah, and look what we found. This is the thing. When you get that, although the bike's cold, it shouldn't do it. It shouldn't do it. It should either hold while it's doing its initial warm-up cycle within the ECU, because some chokes operate in a different way, some aren't choked. So there's various, cold start elements, but that wasn't cold start, which gets me thinking. Here we are. So we got obviously fuel tank, airbox. If we have a little peek in there, can you see that? Look, airbox isn't seated properly. So you're seeing that. We've also got the pair valve pipe. And the reason it's not good, because if someone's mapped that before, which we're going to find out, we'll have to read that ECU out, they've mapped it like that, and it's going to run shocking, it's going to run shit. Even if they have mapped it before, or it hasn't been, if we'd mapped it and not noticed that, it was going to run shit. Now, hopefully we might have seen it on some data, or like I did when I was sort of starting the bike up, but it's things like that that can really screw up the game, really screw up the job. But it's been noted. We're going to be putting a pit limiter on here anyway, so I was going to have to take that sort of stuff off to be able to route that up to the new switchgear. So this was coming off, but obviously if it wasn't, then who knows? We could have ended up mapping like that. Got the job done. It might only be that one was leaking, so we might not get horrendous readings on the air fuel lambda, and we might have just gone ahead and mapped it. And of course, next time this was serviced, pop it back down again, it's going to run differently. So yeah, always worth checking that sort of stuff out when you haven't got a bit of an inkling of what's going on with the bike. But yeah, there we go. So let's go and have a look at these switches, because you saw then the switches all hanging off the bike. That's because we have got some real cool ones to put on here. And here they are. Take a little look at those. You can see those. These are from Bike Sport Developments. You've probably seen them on our Facebook page or things like that when we put one on a bike, because these and another brand I really rate. These more so, if I'm honest. I think these are fantastic. And these ones, you can also mount them to the clutch or brake bracket with this little bracket here, as we'll see when we got them fitted to the bike, because space is quite limited in this area. So what we're planning to do is to mount it on the front of that bracket, so it should give us all the clearance issues, clearance issues. It should get rid of clearance issues by fitting it up there. But obviously we'll only see when we sort of dig deep into that. But these are fantastic bits of kit, and we've also got one for both sides actually. This one is the run and stop button and the start button. The other side we've got all the other functions. So you're up, you're down, you select. Obviously we don't have indicators, we don't have lamps or anything like that, but we're also integrated the pit limiter. It's a latching button that will go on that side, so that will sort of deal with all of that. I'm gonna turn that off, otherwise you might end up with a flat battery, and then I'll be moaning a little bit more. So I reckon we're gonna disappear off, and I'm gonna get these fitted, get that tank off, get that airbox reset, and well, for me, it's going to be a little while. For you, it'll be a few seconds, and we'll come back and we'll see what they look like. Well, some of you might notice in that little transition that my hat has changed. That is because I said, oh, what will be a transition for you will be maybe an hour or so for us. 4 days. 4 days since I last did that. But we're back on the dyno now, and the reason for that is when we started taking the bike apart to have a look at a few things, we mentioned like the airbox and whatnot, and we wanted to put these bike sport development switches on. We came across a few snags. Some snags were simple ones, like the hole center on the Hell thumb brake and clutch isn't the same as stock. That meant a different bracket. Then we noticed some issues going on with the pair valve. Excuse the fuel pump there, I'm actually just doing a flash on the bike. So all kinds of little bits and bobs. So we had to wait for some more parts to come in. So then we had to get those parts onto the bike, and we're there now. So I've just done some base runs on the bike just to get us a datum. And that flash there was to start things like the activation of the race tools. So on this one, we're going to go with the Woolich race tools, but using the bike's own shifter blipper unit. What that means is we can fully configure the Quickshifter, fully configure the Autoblipper, add launch control, add the engine warm-up feature, and more importantly, the gentleman wanted a pit lane speed limiter. So we got the guys over at Bike Sport Developments to wire in a bespoke button for the pit limiter, so it's all integrated into their switchgear. We'll take a look at that in a second, because I love their switches. I think they're fantastic, very, very well made, to be fair, and love being the fact that we're a supplier of them. You know, it's like anything, you know, we'll only supply stuff that we believe is good quality and has the backup as well. And yeah, that company's got it, to be fair. That company's got it. So if you're looking for any of that kind of stuff, just hook us up, give us a call, drop us an email, and we can sort you out. Like I say, it hasn't got to be the off-the-shelf product. We can customize the buttons in terms of color and also what they do. So like for this one, we added a latching pit button, which is also going to act as the engine warm-up as well. So without further ado, let's check out those buttons. So here we go. Excuse all the extra wires and whatnot. So we'll come down here. So that is replacing the OEM. And you can see here, we've got this mounted to the Brembo bracket at the back, as you can see there. And that fits lovely and neatly tucked away in there. And if we come across here, shall I stop there? Another product we do. These are great. Plug and play aim dashes for the Gen 4 and Gen 5 ZX10. Great bits of kit, obviously integrated lap timers and whatnot. So coming down here, we can see he had his Hell thumb brake and his Hell clutch perch, which created some issues with the mounting holes here. I'll get my hands out of the way to do the autofocus. But on here, we've got it nice and simple, basically. Your select button, your up and down, and your latching pit button, which we'll see in the demonstration working in a little bit. So we fitted those. I've also fitted some pair blanks. We've disabled that element in the ECU as well. We've also disabled the EVAP. We've disabled the solenoid on the front flap because that had also been removed. We put some blanking plugs in there, but that's something we've also done as well. While it was apart, we removed all of the vacuum pipe work and put blanking plugs on the throttle bodies. So it's just tidying up all underneath the airbox. Probably one of the reasons why the airbox was sticking up that little bit there. Someone had found some resistance and just figured it was down and did it up, but it wasn't, but it is now. So what I'm going to go and do now is I'm going to go and map this bike as we do. There's some videos along the way, of course, because you guys love to see those things running. We'll also show you the blipper running, the Quickshifter running. We'll try and do a launch if we can, and we'll also show you the pit speed limiter working. So I'm off to do some more work rather than video, and in a second you get to see the fruits of that labour. We'll get the bike turned on. We have to wait for that to come on. We'll get the bike fired up. And then we'll latch this. As you can see, the bike's going through an auto rev cycle. And what it's doing is targeting a bit of data. So we've got when it will stop, the intensity of the blip, the max RPM of the blip, and the opening time and closing times in milliseconds. We can tailor that to give a very different warm-up. Some people think it's a waste of time, I won't lie, others like it. But there we go, that's that in action. So there we go, bike's having its final flash. That means I'm putting the wheel speed sensor errors back on, all that kind of stuff. That's the bike mapped. As usual, we've gone ahead and used Woolich Racing. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you've got any questions or anything about the content, or any questions in general, pop them in the comment section, or you know where to find us on Insta or Facebook. Okay, once again, thanks for taking the time to look at this video. Our ZX10 is now mapped. We've used Woolich Racing software to do that. Added the race tools feature. So we've got a fully configurable Quickshifter, Autoblipper, pit lane speed limiter, launch control, engine warm up. She's mapped out to match this Pipewerx for, I think it's a 400. Yeah, it looks like a 400, but it's 400. SL can, which is going to get this chap through his noise testing a treat. Looks lovely and won't break the bank if and when he crashes it and needs another one. My name's Tony. You've been watching Park It, Dyno and Suspension. Any questions, pop them in the comment section. Drop us a message on Insta or Facebook. Stay safe.